Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into something truly ambitious today. We're looking at a massive blueprint plan for either the Wrocław or Katowice regions in Poland. It's called the Radius Union Project, and we're going to break down exactly how this highly advanced approach to waste management is aiming to literally revolutionize local agriculture.
So just think about this for a second. Can everyday municipal trash and even hazardous waste actually power local greenhouses and fish farms? I mean, it sounds kind of like science fiction, right? But this is exactly what the proposed TherMoSelect plant aims to pull off. The whole goal here is turning a community's hardest to manage waste into the absolute lifeblood of its agricultural sector.
Okay, let's dive into our roadmap for today. We're going to start by rethinking waste as a resource, break down the actual ThermoSelect EcoHub model, and then look at the EU legislative framework that makes it all possible. After that, we'll get into the agro-industrial integration, take an impartial look at the environmental permits and risks involved, and finally wrap things up with the big picture of the circular economy.
Section 1. Waste as a resource. Rethinking trash. You know, for decades, the absolute standard was just to bury our waste in a landfill, or maybe burn it in a basic incinerator. But with this project, we're exploring a total shift away from those traditional, linear disposal methods.
When you compare a standard incineration plant to this integrated hub concept, the difference is night and day. A standard plant just burns trash, maybe generates a little power, but ultimately, it's a dead end. The economics of the Radius Union project, however, they depend fundamentally on this integrated waste-to-resources, energy, and agro-hub model. It's a completely different beast.
Section 2, the ThermoSelect EcoHub model, a massive scale. And when we say massive, we're talking about some serious, heavy industrial infrastructure proposed for those Polish voivodeships of either Wrocław or Katowice.
The numbers here are just staggering. The blueprint outlines a total capacity of 200,000 tons of waste per year. That's split evenly across two processing lines, handling 100,000 tons each. And what's really fascinating about this is that it relies on a highly advanced Swiss technology called ThermoSelect. Right now, this specific gasification process operates exclusively in Japan. So they're essentially looking to bring this proven high-capacity tech right into the heart of Europe.
So how does it actually work? Well, it starts with the waste intake, which then moves right into gasification. And to be clear, this isn't just burning trash. We're talking about intense molecular breakdown using extreme heat. From there, it outputs highly usable energy and clean gases, which leads us to the true innovation here, direct agricultural integration. It's basically a map of how dirty, problematic waste transforms directly into clean, usable resources.
Section 3. The EU legislative framework, the legal blueprint. Because here's the thing, this business model isn't just some theoretical idea. It's structurally validated by the European Union's Waste Framework Directive, specifically Directive 2008/98/EC, which strictly dictates how waste has to be handled. The EU directive mandates a very strict hierarchy. And if you look closely, recovery, which explicitly includes energy recovery, is heavily prioritized. Meanwhile, simple disposal, like dumping stuff in a landfill, is dead last. So this proposed plant legally aligns perfectly with the EU's priority by focusing entirely on recovery rather than mere disposal.
And that brings us to a really crucial legal definition from Article 3. Recovery is officially defined as any operation where waste serves a useful purpose by replacing other materials that would otherwise have been used. This is huge because the hub's entire business model legally hinges on this exact definition. They aren't just getting rid of waste, the whole plan is to turn that waste into a direct, one-to-one substitute for raw materials. Furthermore, Article 6 defines the criteria for end-of-waste status. For the outputs of this plant to legally stop being classified as waste, they absolutely have to meet these strict benchmarks. They have to be commonly used, have an actual market demand, fulfill technical requirements, and, this is key, cause zero overall adverse environmental impacts. If they hit all those marks, the waste is legally transformed into a standard, sellable product.
Section 4. Agro-industrial integration, powering Polish farms. Now let's look at how this all builds into real-world applications, because this is where the hub aims to directly power local Polish agriculture. This really illustrates the closed-loop economics of the whole project. The excess heat and electricity go straight to providing cheap power for local greenhouses and fish farming operations. Then you've got food-grade carbon dioxide being produced, which is captured and used to stimulate plant growth inside those exact same greenhouses. On top of that,
The hydrogen and synthetic gas output are utilized for things like bioethanol production, pig farming, cattle breeding, and grain growing. It's designed to be a remarkably integrated system.
But to power all that, the plant is designed to gasify a really diverse mix of inputs. We aren't just talking about your standard solid municipal waste. It's equipped to handle medical waste, construction waste, and even coal or brown coal. And crucially for the agricultural sector, it offers a safe elimination service for hazardous agro-wastes, things like cattle burials and animal sludge. So it solves a massive biological hazard for local farmers while simultaneously generating their energy.
Section 5, Environmental Permits and Risks, a regulatory reality check. Now, we have to look at this objectively. Gasification and waste incineration inherently pose very real pollution risks to surrounding communities. We absolutely have to acknowledge these environmental hurdles.
To even break ground in Wrocław or Katowice, the plant must secure a highly critical integrated permit. In Poland, this is known as a pozwolenie integracyjne, and it's issued by the regional environmental inspectorates. This permit is strictly required for any installation that could potentially cause significant pollution. It ensures that public safety is prioritized above all else.
The strict requirements for this permit trace right back to Article 13 of the EU directive. Basically, there can be absolutely no risk to water, air, soil, plants, or animals. There can be no nuisance created through noise or odors, and absolutely no adverse effects on the surrounding countryside. Human health and environmental safety are strict, non-negotiable legal mandates here.
So, the really crucial takeaway is this. While the proposed economic and agricultural model is incredibly integrated and efficient, the technical execution has to be environmentally flawless. The plant's approval depends entirely on pulling off this high-temperature gasification without violating a single EU pollution protection law. Basically, if they can't definitively prove it's safe, it just doesn't get built.
Section 6. The Circular Economy, Closing the Loop. This is where we zoom out and see how the radius union model conceptually connects waste, energy, and food into one cohesive system.
Article 1 of the EU directive explicitly calls for reducing overall impacts of resource use and improving the efficiency of such use. And that's exactly why this project is pitched as far more than just a localized business venture. It's positioned as a direct, physical manifestation of the European Union's highest environmental and economic goals. It's literally all about maximizing every single resource available.
To summarize this whole closed-loop cycle, first, they aim to safely eliminate the most hazardous and difficult-to-manage wastes in the region. Second, they harvest the raw energy and clean gases from that destruction process. And third, they take those exact resources and pump them right back into boosting local agro-production. A community's hardest-to-manage trash is intended to become the rock-solid foundation for its own food and energy security.
Which leaves us with a really fascinating question to ponder. Will integrated agro-energy hubs like this become the new gold standard for European waste management? It is an incredibly bold blueprint of the future, for sure, and definitely a massive development to watch closely in Wrocław and Katowice. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.